listening to the Outdoor Drive Podcast.
Oh, sorry. It's podcast time. Welcome back to the Outdoor Drive Podcast, episode 137. Sorry, man. I got a little bit excited. Turkey season being right around the corner. This is your boy, East Coast Trev, and
This is Steve.
What's up, man?
Same old. As by the time this thing drops out, I'm already going to be a couple days into season and hopefully have some luck. So
Have something tagged down and on the ground.
yeah, everyone at this point, I'll say have thanks for crossing your fingers for me. I don't know. It's kind of weird.
Send up those prayers, man. Steve needs to break the curse.
Well, and we're going to do it on a property that no one's ever killed a bird on. And they're limited down there, so.
What? Hold on. So they're limited. What do you mean by limited?
There's a pile of hens,
Okay.
but we rarely have ever seen gobblers.
Okay.
But the neighbor down there's been reporting a couple gobblers running around. He's heard some birds. So this is the first year there isn't cattle on the property. There isn't any other pressure. You know, some of that undergrowth's getting to grow. It's not getting browsed down.
Yeah.
So we're going to go out there and give her hell.
That's awesome, man. And this is the farm that you've put in kind of a lot of sweat equity and kind of building up this mecca of big Virginia deer.
Well, that's the plan. That's the goal. If we can get all of the wildlife around there, the birds, the bees, the turkeys, the deers, and the giant fawns that are inbred with elk, then
I'm not really sure what you do in deer camp, but that's between you and the people that go to deer camp. I don't know what you do with birds and bees, but that's on you,
hey,
Steve-O.
you can't have a good property without your pollinators.
That's right.
So we are putting in a lot of pollinator blend down there. As weird as it sounds, we're trying to attract, everything. Quail, pheasant, rabbits, squirrels. I need to have a place I can go down there and hunt whatever I want.
Steve, it's 2022. You can do with whatever you want.
Hey, yeah, that's right. Don't ask, don't tell's out the window, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess so. You now can ask and tell. So
yeah, well, hell, I can get paid doing it too.
that's right.
This turkey season is brought to you by OnlyFans.
Yeah, I was just gonna go there. I'm like, well, it is 2022 and OnlyFans is in business.
Yeah, well, this is my Jake fan. This is my Tom fan. This is Tom's fan.
This is my bearded hen.
And you can find them all on OnlyFans.
I think it's the only social media platform that we're not on, I guess.
Oh, thank goodness. Well, I don't know.
Stay off
Twitter. There's Twitter. Well, I don't know if you dove into it yet or not, but now is actually may not be a bad time to get on it now that Elon Musk is the biggest stakeholder they have and can walk in and basically say, quit your bullshit.
So I guess through the RSS feed for our Libsyn account, it automatically sends things over to Twitter because we have posts on Twitter, but I don't know how to access it. I don't know how to do it, but it's there. It is what it is. But
we've been Twittering and tweeting this whole time and didn't even know it.
We've been tweeting. Yes, we've been
a bunch of
twiddling
fucking
away.
chickens. Bringing you the news for the cruise is our good buddy Mike Salter. Take it away, Mike.
Hey everyone, let's start this one off in South Carolina where the legislature has approved increasing the cost of the state's waterfowl hunting permit. The cost will go up from $5.50 to $15.50. These fee increases will expire after 5 years as approved. The increased revenue will go directly to habitat improvements with a minimum of $250,000 used to manage and restore waterfowl habitat on state WMAs, 10% from the first 3 years and 20% in years 4 and beyond are going to the AFWA Fall Flight Program for the propagation management and protection of ducks and geese. And all remaining funds shall be used for development, protection, management, and propagation of wild waterfowl in the state. So unfortunately, an increase in cost to hunters, but funds that are being directed back to benefit waterfowl. So great news there. So now to New Jersey and 2 anti-hunting bills which have been introduced. First bill 3742, which would require hunters to provide 24-hour written notice to all property owners and occupants of properties that share a boundary with where the person will be hunting. The bill also prohibits nocking an arrow within 450 feet of an occupied building or school playground unless the hunter has written permission from such property owners to hunt on adjacent property. The proposal includes a $300 fine for the first offense and $1,500 fine and loss of license for any subsequent offenses. Then there's also Senate Bill 3409, which would outlaw hunting competitions that provide any reward for hunting or harassing of certain animals, with the exception of field trials. Any violation of this would result in facing jail time for a disorderly persons offense and 5-year loss of a hunting license. These are both terrible for hunters, and anyone is encouraged to contact your representatives and senators to voice your opposition to these bills as they are moving forward. Now on to New York and 2 more bills that are nearing passage and not in favor of hunters. The first one is Assembly Bill 5728, which is pending in the Senate Environmental Conservation Committee and would prohibit the use of traditional lead ammo on all state-owned lands. Also, with the House Ways and Means Committee is Bill 6510, which turns wildlife management control in southern New York to county officials by allowing them to prohibit hunting during the special late season between December 26th and January 1st. This happened last year as well, and it was specific to last year, but now they are trying to make this for every season. And to oppose these bills, you'll need to email the committee members, which you can find on the Sportsman's Alliance website. Now for some good news. Victory for hunters in Virginia. Last week, the governor signed Senate Bill 8 into law, which expands Sunday hunting to include public lands throughout the state. This has been a long time coming and is a huge win for hunters in Virginia. This opens up hunting on Sundays to over 1.6 million acres of national forest land and 70,000 acres of state forest in the state. Unfortunately, the change will not take effect until July, ruling out Sunday hunting for the spring turkey season, but still a huge win for anyone who wants to hunt Virginia. Lastly, the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks has certified a new state record blue catfish. The 131-pound blue cat was caught by Eugene Cronley and shattered the previous rod and reel record of 95 pounds and the trophy record blue cat of 101 pounds. So congratulations to Eugene on a true giant. As always, if you have any news to send along to me, people have been sending stuff in pretty regular, which is great, so keep it coming. Reach out to me at Mike Salter on Facebook or bearded_bowhunter21 on Instagram. And with that, enjoy the rest of your ride.
That's it. It's nuts. No, I'm definitely looking forward to turkey season, though. I mean, it's one of those seasons that kind of gets like put to the wayside, and we're just like, all right, turkey season's here.
Yeah, when it hits, it hits.
Yeah. And you're just like, let's go, dude.
Yep. Yeah, and it sounds like you got a lot of birds going on up there.
You know, it's one of those things. I mean, through traveling around, I mean, I put probably 2.5 gas tanks through the truck, just driving around looking for birds. And it's pretty much every farm right now is holding birds. There's a ton of public land birds that I've definitely put, eyes on. Actually, yesterday we were out shed hunting, turkey scouting, like not really looking at the ground as much with Ruby. And she went over this knoll and a new piece of public. I just wanted to go and check it out. She put up 2 gobblers. So I was like, all right, cool. Pin that and, just use it as a back pocket thing. I didn't have to really, just an extra thing. I mean, we have a little bit of time, dude. We're not kicking off here until the 27th.
Gotcha.
Well,
everybody, when season does come around and you're up around his area, make sure you're looking for his car. when you find Trev's car, you know where he is and where the birds are.
Yeah, you keep looking for the car that doesn't exist. Keep looking for the car.
I was trying to do you a favor, man.
Nobody really knows, and I'm kind of keeping it that way. It was funny. I was on the phone with Madman Mardik the other day, and I was like, "Do I put a sticker on my truck?"
That's when you use the blacked out sticker.
He's like, yeah, right. And he's like, well, dude, nobody really knows it. So if you put an outdoor drive sticker on it, then, it's not that big of a deal because a ton of people have them. And I'm like, yeah. I says, well, I'm not going to go crazy. So I have two small stickers on the truck and that's it. And that's about where I'm going to keep it. Just normal stickers. I'm not, I don't want to put anything crazy on it for that reason. I don't want anybody really knowing where I am.
Yep.
Kind of what is going on.
I mean, you want to know where the birds are, just drive around and find the guy with the most stickers on his window.
Exactly, right? I guess, there's this theory that Mardik and you talked to Ryan Higgins. They say you want to be a badass hunter, you just buy a Toyota Tacoma. Like the most badass hunters that are out there, they drive Toyota Tacomas.
I thought they were mom wagons, minivans, soccer mom rides.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's just broke down. I'm going for a hike.
Yeah, exactly.
Put some
actually a good idea.
Some vegan stickers on the back. The coexist. You got to have the coexist. Have all of that on there, and nobody is coming into where you're at.
That's what I should have done with the Honda Civic, is just put like Hillary and Biden stickers all over it and then parked them on the side of the road, and then nobody would even know.
I don't know. Up there where you're at, that may attract people.
This is true.
Not so much here, but north of the Mason-Dixon, you may get people wanting to come shake your hand.
Yeah, you're right. Why? Because I had enough balls to drive around with those stickers on my car.
Right.
Hey, before this thing turns into a shipwreck, we probably just give a shout out to those famous people.
Yeah, go ahead and run them through.
Run them through real quick. I'm gonna go with
brought to you
Gator
by OnlyFans.
The OnlyFans.
I couldn't resist.
Gator Outdoors, GatorOutdoors.com. Use promo code OutdoorDrive25 on that one. Thanks to Wade over at Gator Outdoors for the squirrel competition t-shirts that have all been shipped out with a couple of stickers. If you guys do have those, make sure that you post them up on our social media platforms and give us an old tag when you wear those bad boys. Really looking forward to the next squirrel competition. I know the coyote competition kind of didn't really take off. There's a couple guys. We'll send them out surprises for that. But Latitude Outdoors, latitudeoutdoors.com. Keep your eyes peeled on those guys. There's a lot of cool things coming from them. They got some stuff that's really going to knock it all out of the park for this upcoming deer season. Latitudeoutdoors.com. Also, New Era Archery, newararchery.com. That's the home of the Zues Broadheads and B16. If you guys haven't gone on over there, there is a big sale going on for $39.99. You can get 3 Zues Broadheads, which are normally $59.99. So go and check them out. Nor'easter Game Calls, nor'eastergamecalls.com. Get them in close. Mark over there has now released the new mouth calls and the clear killers, the Outdoor Drive clear killers, and also the Cedar Ridge runners. He's always working in the shop. We're actually going to have him on here as a special guest later on, so he can kind of go through all the stuff he's got going on. Last but not least, but the last time that you'll probably hear this name until next season is Rack Bracket. Rackbracket.com. Use promo code OutdoorDrive10. Save yourself 10% on the sturdiest, best Euro bracket on the market. I purposely did that slow. Dirt Road Agency. Dirt Road Agency is Christian Costa, who has kind of built and helped us manage our website with our merch on there. Big thanks to him. And while you're on that website, scroll all the way down the bottom and sign into our email list or our newsletter. We'll be doing some giveaways with that and kind of getting that thing underway. If you guys want to keep on top of what we have going on day to day, new episodes, special promotionals, stuff like that. Also, Bowfishing Magazine, bowfishingmagazine.com. If you guys are bow fishermen, get on there and sign up for that. It's actually a free episode. It's a free magazine with everything bow fishing related. So check those guys out. All right, now we can get back to the craziness. I don't want to miss out on anything good.
I don't know if there's going to be anything good that comes of it.
What's funny is I don't get to run through these a lot. So I'm kind of, I was on point and I would just hit those things left and right, all the way through them. And I now have to look at my notes to get through those sponsorships and driving me nuts.
9 episodes of trade shows. Kind of.
Is that what it was?
Something
9
like that.
episodes? Jeez.
I think it was like 9 episodes straight.
I do love the shows, though. I mean, it's fun to see everybody and stuff. I don't know how the working class bow hunter guys did it. I mean, going to almost every single show, dude. I'd be drained.
Well,
my liver would hate me.
I think what they were doing is they wanted to go see every show so that next year they know,
what shows to go to.
where's worth it.
Mm-hmm. I don't blame them.
So, they're coming back to PA.
How could they miss out on PA?
Yeah, you can't not.
It's probably one of the best shows. I love that show.
It's rowdy.
I want to talk. I do want to talk about something because today I put out, or what would be 2 weeks ago, I put out a tip, and I did Tip Tuesdays, which is something I'm going to do a little bit more of. Kind of. I don't know. It's just something I came up with. Now I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I came up with Tip Tuesday, and today's tip was study from afar and kind of be silent, right? And one of the things that drives me absolutely nuts when I flip through social media constantly, and I'm looking and I'm looking and I'm looking, and everybody has birds in a field when they're out scouting. And what do these people do?
Call to them.
Yes, it drives me up the wall. It's like nails on a chalkboard. Why do you want them to gobble?
So we have kind of a running joke. I've got a buddy that is a diehard. He'll call him regardless, season or not. If he could be in there knowing he's hunting a bird, and he'll sit out there for 4 mornings straight and call at it to see if it's there. And we consider it, we even went to the extent one time, we printed out diplomas and handed it to him. Said, here, next time you go out, make sure you give these to the birds. Just give them their call diplomas, because you're just educating them. They know where the pressure's coming from. They know where you're going to come in from. Whether the whole call shy thing is a real thing or not, they're getting pressure. And if they do go to check you out and you're not there, well, guess what? They're going to be a little bit less apt to go check you out next time.
I think it's absolutely ridiculous. So, like, if I do carry a call, I carry the worst call that I own. One of a noise that I'm never going to make in the woods. Because when they hear that noise, they go, who is that girl? Where does she come from?
Right.
I never heard her before. And then you're gonna put the call that you use, which is the same call, and you're gonna do it again in the woods. Like, I don't understand that. When they're on the side of the road, if you want them to gobble, if they're close enough, beep the damn horn. Like, it's not that hard. Slam the door. Like, you want to hear them gobble, dude. It's not hard to make them gobble. Do not call at them. Like, it drives me absolutely up the wall. And then most of the guys do it on the side of public land. Like, they don't get called at enough.
Yeah.
And guys like us go in there and we try and hunt these birds, and these birds are completely and utterly educated to what is going on. Or I've seen it before so bad in some of these high pressured public land spots. Like, these birds will be in the center of the field. You hit off a call and they literally tuck their tail feathers and run the opposite direction.
Yep.
It's so annoying, dude. It's like, bro, we're out there grinding, and then something like that happens. You know that those birds have been called at 1,000,001 times.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, you have to hunt them like deer. Like, you just have to know where they're coming and going, or it just puts so much more pressure on these birds. There's 101 different ways to find out where these birds are, what they're doing, because you can go into the woods in the morning. You want to hear them gobble? Just get in the woods in the morning. They're going to gobble, guaranteed.
Yep.
Like, if you're in that right area,
figure out where they roost. After they fly down, move into where you think they roosted. Check under the tree. You'll know between fly up feathers and droppings if it's a roost or not. It's real easy.
It's so annoying, dude. I get so irritated with it. And they then, at the end of it, they'll, even in the evening, you can go in there and you can owl hoot. I use a goose call is one of the things I use. You can use a howl and read. You can use anything, man. A Fox Pro, whatever, dude. You can definitely get those birds to gobble to understand where those birds are.
Bang two pans together.
One of the kids I used to hunt with, he would take a big stick and smack it against a tree.
Yeah.
Just as a loud noise. It's a natural noise of like a tree branch falling. I mean, there's so many other things you can do other than to call out those birds. Everybody calls those birds. Like, dude, stop. Just leave them alone, man, and let them go on their own way. Like, it's not hard enough. And I don't know. I get irritated about it because I'm like, dude, just leave the damn birds alone. I mean, we're 3 weeks or 4 weeks from the season and you got to be calling at these birds. What does it make it? I don't know. I guess I can ramble on about it for no reason, but there's no need for it.
Trev's round of the day.
It's just crazy. Yeah, exactly. Have you been seeing a lot more birds down by you? Because you had said the other day that DNR was saying that
Yeah, they're calling for a really good year of 2-year-olds. I guess the clutch hatch last year was phenomenal. So
Okay.
they're, and the majority of birds here are jakes or 2-year-olds that end up getting harvested. They're calling for a really good year of 2-year-olds, which we haven't had in 3 years.
That's good.
So, if you did get a longbeard to come in, it was probably a wise old pain in the butt like the ones we always fought with. You didn't have the stupid 2-year-olds. So I think we're going to have
the stupid 2-year-olds for a good time.
Well, yeah, you got to warm up somehow.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, they're calling for a really good season for the harvest. So fingers crossed, we'll see. But the best part is now that COVID disappeared, because it wasn't a thing now.
Right.
A lot of people are back at work and don't have time, and they're not going to be crushing the woods every frickin' day of the season. Right. So that's going to help a lot.
It's nuts, though. So you had more of a dry spring than last year or the year before.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, you think about it, the first year you came down here and hunted, we had some 2-year-olds, but most of them were big old longbeards. Mm-hmm. And they were the cagiest birds ever.
Right.
The second year you came down here, we didn't have 2-year-olds. We had 1 or 2 longbeards that screwed with us for the whole week. And last year, the one I ended up shooting, that double beard, it was at least 3. I mean, it was a very mature bird. I didn't have a single encounter with a 2-year-old last year. Well, at least, and I can't sit here and judge turkey's age. Don't misquote me here. But the birds last year did not act like your 2-year-olds that come in, ready to fight, get, set that peck in order. They'd sit back. They were real cagey. They just kind of took their time wanting to see what's going on, and if anything was off, they were gone.
Right.
So that's why I assume.
I think it's kind of good because, I mean, for us, it was, I don't know. I mean, obviously, I do my annual trip during the middle of turkey season, but like when I was here, the opening day was tough. We had a tough opening day. I ended up shooting the hen, my bearded hen, and then I left, and then I came back. And then I ended up killing a real mature bird, but there wasn't, even when I youth hunted before, there was one big mature bird that we held up at 60 or 80 yards, couldn't get the thing to come in. I hunted a couple more times and then I ended up leaving. And then I came home and everything had greened up and it was real tough. I mean, we were then hunting the woods and stuff, but it was, and even after that, man, it was tough hunting. There wasn't a lot of birds. And even in scouting this time last year, I didn't see a lot of birds. I mean, one of the farms that we hunt, dude, right now has like 8 to 10 mature birds.
Right.
Like gobblers. And I'm like, dude, you got to be kidding me. And with like 4 or 5 jakes inside mixed. And then I went to another farm that I hunt and it was like the same. I think it was like 10 longbeards that were out there. And then I had talked to my uncle and he said that there was like 20 or 30 birds that were in the field like a little bit before I ended up getting there to scout. I mean, I checked another farm and then went there. It was like 7 o'clock in the morning, but he had said at like 7 o'clock in the morning, there was like 30 birds. I didn't get there until almost 8. So, I couldn't believe it. And everywhere, I mean, midday they go in the woods and you don't see them, but those rain days, man, definitely scouting on those birds. And you're seeing them out there. Some of the public land that I hunt, I knew that they go into this one field in the rain, and I went over there. And last year there hadn't been any birds, and I went over there, and there was 4 longbeards in there last year, and I mean this year, and I was like, all right, we're good, we're on. I mean, there's definitely birds around to be had, and I'm hoping that everybody, like you said, COVID's over and everybody's back to work and not putting the pressure on these birds. I mean, if they do, a day or 2 is fine. We'll see what ends up happening. I'm more or less excited for youth season. I think that's always like my favorite all-time thing is youth season. I'm going to hunt with Everett again. I think it'll be his last year hunting with me because he's going to be too old, I think. Right. And then if I can get a bird for Will before I leave, I think that would complete a season for me. And I'll try and work something. So I'll have 3 or 4 days, and then Will come in. So then I'll hunt with Will, and then we'll take off for Maine on the 5th or 6th of May.
Gotcha.
We'll see what happens. Everyone's like, "Are you going on your shed hunting trip? Why would you do that?" Da, 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 da. And I'm like, dude, if you went and walked and tried to find a moose paddle, you would totally understand why I go and do that. Like, they're like, "You're leaving turkey season." I'm like, yeah, I get 2 weeks of turkey season and then I'm out of here, dude. So like, it's not like I'm missing out on anything.
But you got to think, a lot of them, a lot of folks have never picked up anything bigger than a whitetail antler. And I'm telling you, there is nothing greater than like stumbling on a giant 7-side for a bull elk, you know, a 30, 35 pound horn. And I'm assuming it's the same when you find a moose paddle, you know, because it's massive. It's like finding a 200-inch side on a shed for a whitetail. Every one you find is epic. You know, and until you experience that, you don't quite understand that.
It's something else. I mean, it's not even the fact of finding a big moose head, right? Like, I love the fact of coming around the corner. Like, Ruby's not coming back because she normally, like, she'll work just like a bird dog, right? And she'll bounce back and forth. And up there, it's all clear-cut rows.
Right.
So they're like 5 feet, 6 feet wide. And then there's 5 or 6 feet of like thick pines. And then it's another clear cut. And then, you know, with growth in it and stuff. So she'll zigzag through them, run around, and I'll see her, you know, and then she'll like come back. She'll check with me and then keep going on. But when she goes out and she doesn't come back, and then you have to go and find her and you come around the corner and there's a moose antler on the ground that she's trying to pick up and she can't pick up. I think that's probably one of the coolest things ever. And to walk up on some of them, it's definitely fun. But I think the best thing about it, man, is so we leave off the pavement and it's about 70 miles on one dirt road.
Yeah.
Literally straight shot north, like northwest. Okay. Into the woods, 60, 65 miles. And then we turn off of that for another 5 or 10 miles. And then we turn into camp. So technically we're like 70 something miles from the nearest paved road and being up in the middle of nowhere, dude, straight wilderness. And you're camping on the riverside. We're on the St. John River in northern Maine. I mean, there was points last year that, dude, we were on like the clear cuttings from U.S. I almost said Connecticut, from U.S. to Canada, dude. Right. Like, we're on the Quebec border, dude. Like, it's surreal. It's surreal to be up there, the camaraderie of all of us hanging out and camping. And it's just so much fun to learn. And like, you literally, if something is to go wrong, you know it's all over. Like, there's nothing you can do about it, bro. Yeah. Like, if you run out of fuel, you're walking 60 miles to camp to the gas station. You know what I'm saying? Or back into town. So there's a couple of us, 3. I mean, that's really more or less what it is for me. I mean, like, that's like my number one trip is to go up there. I mean, we found 84 moose sheds in 11 days last year.
Right.
For 1, 2, 3, or 6 of us. So I don't know. That's the fun of it, dude. I don't know if it's like, I guess it would be something along the lines of finding a big elk shed. I mean, when you come around the corner and some sagebrush and that thing's laying there, the thoughts that overtake your mind I don't even know what that's like, dude.
Well,
like,
and
that's got to be crazy.
It's the same thing as like, say you just stumble up on, you know, a 30-inch moose paddle. It's like, wow, where'd that come from? Mm-hmm. You know, it's just like a shock because, again, you see a whitetail antler, even a big whitetail antler, and you lay that next to a big paddle, even a medium paddle or a medium elk shed, and it's like, oh, well, that whitetail sucks now. This thing is like 5 times that size. You know, so it's like finding a 200-incher every time you find one. It really honestly is.
I mean, even when Rue comes back with a big whitetail shed, I'm like, what in the world did you just find, dude? Like, her biggest whitetail shed this year, dude. She come around through this thick stuff. We were in some barberry bushes, and I come over this little ridge, and she come running back with this thing in her mouth, and I'm like, it's just like, you know, like, you know, ground growth.
Yeah.
Like when you're walking up to a whitetail, I can see her, and she has a bone, and she's running back to me. And the closer that she gets, this thing just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'm like, how much bigger can it really get? Like, it's absolutely giant. I'm like, I can't believe you even just found that thing.
And that's the thing. When you pick up a big horn, it's just, it amps you up just a little bit more, you know. Yeah, hey, look, here's a fork side, you know, here's a little basket. And then you get that one and you're like, oh yeah, you know,
that's him.
When you're comparing the ass ends to beer cans and things like that, you're bragging about that. Well, that's every moose paddle or elk shed.
I mean, you find some small ones. I'm not gonna lie.
Well,
I have a set of. It's a spike fork, and if I didn't have the eyes that I have for looking for whitetail sheds, I probably would have never found it.
And that's the thing is that's the opposite side. For. Who's ever found a button buck shed? You get more jacked about finding that than you do, you know, 150-inch side. Because it's so hard.
So it's funny is a lot of guys, like, they literally talk about that all the time. Like, what is your smallest shed? Because that's impressive, dude. You know what I'm saying?
Like, pick that out. That takes skill.
I know somebody who literally was sitting down turkey hunting, okay? And he's sitting down turkey hunting and he's playing with stuff on the ground, okay? And he's just like playing with stuff. And he has in his hand, and he has what he think is a rock. And he's like, this is the weirdest rock. But he's not paying attention, right? He's like looking out at the decoys and this, that, and the other thing. And he's like, what the? And he looks at it, and it's a button buck
shed.
It's
literally a deer button.
He's like, what in the world? How did I just find it? Like, he literally just like randomly was sitting down and picked up a button buck shed. And he just had it in his hand, but he was not like, he didn't look at it. You know what I'm saying? Like, he just put his hands down and grabbed something, and he's just playing with stuff on the ground, and it's a button buck shed.
That's wild.
Like, you gotta be kidding me, dude. What is the chances, dude? Like, some of the, I don't know. It's crazy. And then that, like, to think about it, how many miles? Like, I'm probably logged close to 100 miles this year shed hunting. Like, how many big antlers did I walk by?
Oh, yeah. That's what'll drive you crazy if you really think about it. Because for every one you find, you probably walk past 4.
It's nuts, though. Like, I started doing a lot of grid searching. Yeah. And I would, like, literally, me and Rue would get in a block of woods, and I would watch it on a map. And I'd get on Hunt Stand, which I learned from Marty, because I didn't know that it has, like, a tracker thing. Yep. I can't really use it on Hunt Stand, so I use it on Onyx. So, and then just literally watch my track, and I grid search an area. Then, especially if I know there's a big buck in there, then I'll move to the next area and I'll grid search it, you know. And dude, when I started doing that, I did that where our hunt camp is here in Connecticut, and I found so many more sheds. I found 9 sheds just in that one block of woods.
Yeah, because you're looking at the same spot from 4 different perspectives instead of, hey, I just walked and I didn't see nothing. You know, it wasn't in your line of sight, but okay, now you came at it from 90 degrees with the sun at it different. You know, it's like, oh, how did I not see that?
I think that's one of the hardest things too, because having the dog, you're trying to play into the wind.
Right.
So the sun sometimes is in your eyes. And then when she's working, when you work back on a line, the wind is at your back.
Right.
So a lot of the times with her, she'll get out way farther. And then she kind of has started to understand that she has to have the wind in her face. So she'll go out 60, 75 yards and then work her way back to me. But the problem at that, I have the sun in my eyes, but she has the wind which would be to my back. You know what I'm saying? Yep. So then it's vice versa when we're working the other way. So she's starting to learn that. I mean, at 2.5 years old, I mean, she's really starting to pick up on a lot of that stuff, but it's a different perspective than like somebody, if I was to go into the woods and actually shed hunt and have to have that sun at my back and then work my way up and through to having a dog. Now your perspective is totally backwards, you know, and you have to try and get that wind in your face no matter what, no matter where the sun is complacent to you, you know? So it's fun though. I mean, it definitely is a tough thing to get used to though, because when I'm walking, I'm always trying to keep that sun to a quarter or behind me at all times. So you're not
blinded out. Definitely.
Yeah, that's one of the toughest things, honestly.
Well, while you're up there in Maine, You gonna stop by the shop?
So we have some really big, important things going on with the shop. Why don't we, should we just get Mark on the phone?
Yeah, dude, let's just go ahead and have him dial in. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Hey, old man, you alive over there?
Yes, I'm still kicking, believe it or not.
You can't hear him in the background going, Mark, 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 Mark.
That's how I learned how to turkey call and duck call. Doesn't that sound like Mac, Mac, Mac?
Is that the noise you make with your mouth call? Mac, 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 Mac.
Oh, I thought he was just yelling at the kids outside.
Yeah.
What do you got going on in the shop nowadays?
Oh, we're just kind of getting ramped up and ramped down at the same time. Getting caught up with custom orders. Obviously, we started a new series this year for you guys, the Outdoor Drive Clear Killer. Every year we do something different, and it's a limited run. I think there's like a dozen of them or so. Obviously, last year was pretty special. We had the Outdoor series, which I decided to gather up everything I could find and dry it and get it into the calls that had, leaves and moss and sticks and twigs. And this time I decided to just go in the opposite direction. It is pure clear. Well, not crystal clear, but as clear as I can get a block of resin, and they're all turned out. So it's just clear with your logo under the glass.
So it literally reflects whatever it's sitting on. That's the coolest part.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. It's just clear resin. Of course, Trevor's idea this year was half plastic glass over slate, which I think this is the first time for us doing that in your series, and it's a screamer. It's extremely loud, and it sounds great.
Because we did last year, the outdoor series was glass over glass.
Yeah.
Which is a fire call. Fire.
Yeah, that one sounds great as well. That'll bring him in close. So this one here is definitely has got the right sound to it, and again, it's just kind of unique. We usually try to go way outside the box with what we're doing. Then nobody's even going to try to attempt to do it. In this case, it was like, let's try something very, very simple, keep them clear, and let's go down that route. And that's what we came up with, and of course we give it the nickname Clear Killer.
I think so. Do you see a big difference between the slate over the glass over the glass over the glass?
A little bit. I think the slate one, it's got a little bit more rasp to it, and you can get it a little louder than the glass over glass. It just seems to have a little better tone. I think it's just because of the slate being the soundboard. It controls that sound going out just a little differently than a sharp piece of glass. So it is different.
The harmonics will be dampened a little different.
Not
as
if you
loose.
played them right side by side with the same notes, you would definitely be able to pick out, that there's two different calls.
Right.
It's got like some special tang to it. Because right here, I have a slate over glass. I don't know. You guys might not be able to hear the difference. Here's the glass over the slate.
Oh, you can hear the difference.
Yeah,
and then there's
the
glass over the glass. They all sound really good though, but I really am kind of pitching myself towards that slate, a glass over slate. I really do like that. That is fire.
It is. And I don't think a lot of your listeners know how long you and I worked on this. We kind of discussed it earlier about how many years you and I put into getting this sound. It wasn't like, hey, check it out, I make turkey calls, and threw it on the desk and glued some stuff together. It doesn't work that way. You were instrumental, and so was Steven when we came out with like the Prospector series. It sounded good, which it'll sell off the shelf and it'll call in birds, but it just didn't sound right. And it's really easy to just say, hey, let's just fix that real quick. Well, it doesn't work that way. There's just so much that goes into it to get the height of the soundboard perfect, the size of the soundboard, how many holes are in the back, what kind of glue you use. So that really, it took a long time to get it, and we both were kind of jumping for joy when we finally hit it, that now we've got everything perfect.
I don't understand, like, one of the things we talk about a lot is, like, how do these guys come up with these calls? They're like, oh, yeah, I used a seashell, and I put slate over it, and now it sounds like a turkey.
Yeah, and I think over the internet or on your speaker, it kind of does. I mean, I can put a piece of slate in my hand right now and make a turkey noise with a striker, but is it what we're looking for? I mean, we're trying to mimic as close as we can get to Mother Nature, and that's where the real trials come in to separate you from the guy with the seashell in his hand. You know, we want to push ourselves a little further out there.
Well,
Not that
we don't want to.
Doesn't sound good.
We don't want to down on our guys down south where they use turtle shells.
No, exactly. Everybody does something different that they usually said. I don't want to bust on them because it's their call. We just decided to go a different route and just keep fine tuning that. Just like we're in a music studio, it just kept playing with the knobs and the dials and the knobs and the dials. We were like, that's it, stop, don't move. We got it, and it did. It took almost 5 years. It's kind of amazing that it took that long to get it to where. Again, I'm proud of it. I would put it in anybody's hands and let them have at it.
Well, hold on. Let's take this back real quick. It took 5 years to do it in acrylic. You had already capitalized on that in wood. It's now doing it in acrylic. Acrylic was the tough part with having an acrylic outside shell of the pod call. You did it in wood. Wood is perfect. Your woods calls have always been great from the beginning, but now doing them in acrylic is where the trouble had because of the vibrations and the glass bonding to the acrylic and all those things that kind of go into that, which had been kind of a tough thing.
Yeah, that's very true. I've been doing it since 2010, making the calls. But as soon as I threw acrylic into the mix, that was the end of that. And then when we finally get that pinned down, then Steven decided to throw another looper into the mix and send up the Ridge Runner. And of course, me being a smarty pants, I'm like, oh, that's a piece of cake. Look, it's already built. I'll just reverse engineer it. Yeah, I think you remember the first one I built you, and I listened to it. I'm like, what the hell did I do wrong? I mean, it sounded horrible. It looked just like it. I'm like, I don't get it. I built it just like his, and it truly sounded horrible. It sounded like a bumblebee was caught inside the call. And that's when you sit there and you shake your head as a call builder and go, this is impossible. I mean, I don't know the exact woods he used, but I can't be that far off. But yet, all I had to do is start. Here I was thinking I had it exactly, and I wasn't because I did it my way. I built it just a little taller, a little bit longer, and there's the issue. It's all about that interior, and that's when I found out real quick that no, I better. And again, I couldn't pop that call apart, so I had to really take my time with it. And it took a while, and now I'm real happy with them.
You did a remarkable job. I wouldn't even attempt. The only way I would have ever tried to remake that call would be cut it in half to get those dimensions. You did it without breaking the call. Yeah, exactly, and that's what I wished I could have done to get out. I mean, you've seen my work desk before, and I'll post it online. I've got my a set of micrometers sitting on my workbench because I mean it's that particular for me, so that I do the same thing every time. And it did. It took a while. They're kind of dangerous to make because I use a router in my hand and so forth to hollow them out, and you can have some kickbacks. But now that we've got them down pat, I'll probably always continue to do a small line. I'm trying to move them into the acrylics right now, and I've got that bumblebee issue again, and I'm working on that because here we go again. I got it perfect in wood. My acrylic I built pretty close to the wood. They're a little shorter. And that may be where my issue is coming from. It's really amazing that, a quarter inch or a half inch will throw you off completely. Right. Changes the whole dynamic of the way that sound bounces. It does. So stay tuned for those. Once I get them in acrylic, that's going to be fun because we can do them in all kinds of different colors. And again, we can put stuff in it. It's just limitless what I can do with the acrylic. Yeah, that's going to be sweet. I can't wait.
I mean, that call alone, the Ridge Runner, man, is probably one of the nastiest calls that has come out of Nor'easter game calls, to be honest. Like, as far as the tone-wise and what it actually is, and you remade it in cedar, which is like half the weight.
Yeah, it's very light now. You can stick it in your top pocket like a pack of smokes and not even know it's there. I mean, it's really light. I mean, you don't want to sit on it, obviously, because it is cedar. Because you could definitely break it if you had a seat on it. But it has a different tone than the oak and the cherry.
Yep.
But it's a good tone. I like it.
Yeah, it's a great addition.
It has that, it's funny so I had, during the Springfield show, I had put it in the hands of Matt Weddish, and him being like a really good turkey caller, right? So he's hitting the side, he's hitting the call, and he's got it in his hand, and it's squeaking. Got like a squeak noise to it. Uh-huh. And I'm like,
yeah.
That's it. What are you doing? He's like, you
gotta lighten it up.
I like it. For me, it didn't sound good. And then he took the thing and he starts hitting it, and it's kind of like squeaking, got more of a higher pitch because of the aluminum. And he goes around the blinds to the other side, and you start hearing it, and I was like, whoa. He's like, yeah, you can't listen to a call from close. You have to listen to it from afar, like a turkey would hear it, and you can really hear that.
And that is a very good point. Yeah, because I run into that in the shop where I think I've got it pretty good, and I go outside with it to hear the echo back to me, and it does make a big difference. It really does, having it further away, because when it's right under your face, it's just projecting straight at you, and it is a different tone. Same with mouth calls. When I was learning how to do mouth calls, and asking you for pointers and stuff, yeah, listening to it in the truck, it sounds pretty good, and then you record it on your phone off to the side, and you're like, that's not all that great. You get out of the truck and start hollering with it, like, wow, it has a great echo coming back. So he's very right with that, where a lot of us wouldn't think of that.
And I noticed one thing that, and in the video that he had made, he had his arms, when he had the call, he has his arms extended out as far as he could have it to get it away from his body so he could hear from afar. Because if it's real and close, now it's bouncing up in your face. So he actually holds it out when he's hitting his call so he can now hear the echo coming back at him.
Yeah, and he could, right. And he could adjust the tone.
Correct. And it's one of those things that, like, I was like, wow, man, that's just that's one of those tips and tricks to be able to listen. And the other thing too, like with mouth reads, a lot of the times, a lot of people, the reason why they cup their hand around their mouth, and a lot of the times you can take, so that it doesn't get so loud, when you cup your hand, you can take your other hand and put it over the top of the other one. So now it's bouncing back at you like a singer would, and you can hear it back reflecting in your ear, so you can know your tones. So you can hear your tones bouncing back to you. And I was like, whoa, now we're talking. And it makes so much more sense that way.
That's a pretty cool little thing. How many of us sit there with a pot call and we almost cuddle it when we're in the blind?
Yep.
It's and we really shouldn't. Like you said, we should be reached out so we can hear that tone. And I catch myself doing that a lot. When I am calling with a pot call, I'm extended out, and I've almost got my hands out the window of the blind. I'm right up to the window away from me so that I can project that sound, because as you know, our pot calls are extremely loud, so I can twist it upside down. I can change that pitch by rotating the call at the window, and that's usually worked out pretty good for me.
That's a good thing to do too. Even if you're calling inside of the blind, sometimes you might want to call outside the blind, so you're projecting out, so it's not echoing inside of the blind.
Exactly.
So with the mouth calls, you just came up with 2 new series of mouth calls. I mean, if pot calls, grunt tubes, box calls, and ridge runners isn't enough for you, you decided to dive into this whole.
He broke down and got into the latex game.
I did, and that really. I've teased Trevor since I've known him.
With all the shit talking that you've done to me about it.
I did. I mean, the old joke was, "You're lucky I'm friends with you," because I'm not usually friends with guys that like to taste the latex in their mouth. But you finally, there's just so many reasons to do it and to stop bucking the system that I did. I dropped the big dollars and I bought, the real machinery from Feather Ridge. So I've got, the machine that stretches and all that. I put my own stretch. But, the machine folds the aluminum and pulls the reeds, the latex. I get the tape cutter so that each one's cut exactly the same. My logo stamp. And for me, the biggest scare was I can't run a mouth call. So, and I couldn't when I first started this, and because I bet you could pick up 50 calls right now that I sent you. We tried everything, and I reached out to another call maker and that does them, and I said, you got to help me. And he was instrumental in helping me out with it, which is surprising because normally, another call builder will just tell you to go fly.
Right.
And he was really good about it. And he builds calls like I do, deer grunt calls and turkey calls. I'll throw him a bone. He goes under Southern Coyote online, and it was very good of him to do that. Literally a phone call is we're talking on the phone and he's helping me through that. And then Trevor just said, throw it in your mouth and this is what you do and so forth. And I think I drove around for probably 2 or 3 days before I got a decent sound. And now that it's been a couple of weeks, I have no problem bringing that in the woods with me now, because it will be instrumental in me getting that hung up tom, because all I've got is a box call and a couple of pot calls with me. And when you run out of options where he's still hung up, the mouth call. And watching videos with guys with both those in their vest, yeah, there's no comparison. That mouth call takes you to that next level.
It's a tool that seals the deal, man. I can't stress it enough on how much they actually work. Marco would totally bust on me because he'd be like, dude, you're supposed to be killing them with my calls. I'm killing them with your calls. I promise. I'm getting them in. I'm getting them to gobble, but I'm just finishing them
30 yards that you don't want to move.
I'm just finishing them, man.
I'm like, where the hell's my call? I can see that mouth call in your mouth, and I give you hell, and you're like, dude, I got him to gobble. I brought him in, and then I finished the deal with the mouth call because, and I couldn't understand it because I never watched a lot of videos on mouth calls because I don't make them, and I can't run one. And then this year, as you and I talked, you said, you got to do it. You got to do it. And again, it's inexpensive. It's a couple $1,000s just to get started to make, a set of mouth calls that's going to sell for $25, and that's shipped. So you're only going to make, I don't know, maybe $10. It's going to be a while to pay it back. And again, practicing with the calls, and again, now that I can run them, it's going to be a good venture because coyote calls will be next, and elk calls, and so forth.
Yep.
Coyote calls are already in the works.
Yes, they are. Yeah, I've got those down to you, and we just got to get them in the right hands and start adjusting our stretch and make sure that we've got them tuned in decently. Because that's something else I got to learn how to run now is the coyote call.
Coyote calling is not. I mean, listen, Mark's going to give me crap for it, but it's not that hard. You just have to have the diaphragm. That boy, he gets it in bellows. I can't believe it. Like it's mind blowing to me. I am not a coyote caller by any means, but he gets it done, dude. I can't believe it. It's something else.
No, that first night, when I heard him, that kind of sealed the deal of mouth calls. When I built those horns for you guys, the amps that you both wanted, and then I heard him with a mouth call. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. I mean, I'm good with a mouth call as far as an open reed style. But to hear him with a reed, a latex call, mouth call in his mouth, you can't tell the difference between him and a dog. No way. No way, difference. No how. And like I said, his diaphragm is massive. So, I mean, me doing turkey calls, I told you the other day, I can only run them for about a half hour. And then my diaphragm starts getting sore where I can't get those fast clucks in when I'm using the mouth call.
It's tough, man. You have to train that muscle, and you have to get that muscle to work. Like, you just got to practice, dude. It's something that I mean, Steve, you mouth call. Like,
oh, yeah.
I mean, you literally sit with that call constantly in your mouth, and you just, I mean, even having an off season, I just drive around. I got it in the car.
That's what I'm doing all the time. All the time.
Well, you can only do it so long in the house before the old ladies want to kick you out.
Yeah. I've already stretched one out where one of my V cuts it doesn't sound right now because I've used it so much, pushing up on it with my tongue that it's finally given up. And I do. I drive around all the time, blowing on them and getting better at like I was telling Trevor the other night. I said, hey, I can purr now. I can purr. I can clock. I can yelp. My keys, they're getting there.
That one takes a little while because it's different.
It is, because you got to learn how to bend your tongue right. And with me, it looks like I'm having a stroke.
Well, yeah, when
I can get it to kiki.
You try to get that high pressure up through the back of your throat onto that thing, and when you finally get it, it's like, how did I not understand that before? But trying to learn it is the funniest thing to watch.
It's tough. It is, because I'll finally get it, and I'll be like, oh, that sounds good. And I'll do it like, I don't know, 8 or 10 times driving down the road. Then I'll go back to doing my regular calling, and I try to get back to it. I can't find it again. It's like, are you kidding me? So
I'll give you a tip on it real quick, because especially with a cut call. Cut calls are some of the harder ones to do it with, right? Because what you have to do, especially a bat wing, for example, if you're going to do it with a bat wing, what you have to do is take the tip of your tongue and put it on the side of that call. So you're literally...
Yep. And that's where I'm going with it.
This one got to be warmed up.
He's got to find it.
You have to have it on the side of the cut, which is some of the hardest parts to do.
I did figure that out, and that's why I said it looks like I'm having a stroke, because I look like Popeye talking out of the side of my mouth.
I'll tell you, this call is one of my favorite calls, honestly. try not to call into your guys' ears.
No, you're good.
But it rips.
And which one's that one?
That's the Batwing. Yeah, the Batwing. Yep. That's
and that's the hardest one for a call maker to make because you're doing a right-hand and a left-hand cut, and of course everybody's either right-handed or left-handed. So as you're cutting out the two sides, you've got to spin that little frame around when you're cutting it and go in a different direction with the scissors, and it makes for it makes for a little bit of a hassle getting the cuts perfect.
So speaking of cuts, you offer 3 cuts and 2 different lines.
That's correct. Yeah, we have the Widowmaker and then the Cheating Hen. And the difference between them is thickness in reeds, which changes the tone just a little bit. It's enough so that you can tell playing them that there's a little bit of different tone. One's a little raspier than the other one. And the stretch is a little different on one to the other. So that's the only difference.
So I'll play the 2 for you. So I have both of them right here. This one is which Mark the
if it's green, it's cheating. That's the Cheating Hen.
Okay, so this is the Cheating Hen.
And white is for Widowmaker.
I had to break in. One second. That one's not lubricated. And that's the Widowmaker.
Yeah, it's amazing how when you first throw them in your mouth, that they don't have that rasp. You really do have to play with them it's only about a minute to get them good and wet and keep throwing some juice on them, and then the rasp will come out and the tones that you want. If you just throw it in and start blowing on it, which amazes me again watching videos, some of these guys making their own calls, they chuck them right in their mouth and they sound pretty good.
But to get that rasp, they just got to sit. A lot of times I just put them on the side of my mouth.
Yeah, let them soak up the juice. And when they're brand new, they still have powder on the latex, so that when you're stacking reeds and stuff, they don't stick together. So that has to be washed out. So, I mean, if you don't want that little powder in your mouth, you can just run them under the sink and get them all good and wet, get that powder out of them, and then put them back away in the little case that they come with, because they come with a little nor'easter case, and there's 3 calls in each case. And, of course, when I ship them out, they come with a nor'easter sticker and a business card and all that stuff.
And you have 3 different cuts. You have a Batwing cut, a Shipwreck cut, and a V cut.
Yep, that's correct. Yep. And my favorite as a new caller, I fall back on the V cut and the Batwing. Those are the 2 easiest for me to start with. I'm still practicing with the Shipwreck cut to get the sound that I can get out of the V cut. So it's been good learning. I was surprised. I think there's a lot of fear in it more than anything else. You know, you don't want to try something you're not good at, obviously. And once you gave me the pointers and stuff, I'm like, you know, and you get that first noise. Like I even sent you a video that night. Remember, I'm like, hey, check it out. I can make some noise with it now. You know, and it was just a squeal more than anything. But I was like, oh, that's how that works. And once I started practicing getting the tongue position right and the pressure right, and the biggest thing I think, like you said, is your diaphragm. If you're not a caller with a duck call or a goose call or some sort of mouth call, you don't know how to use your diaphragm. You really don't, unless you use an instrument maybe in school. These guys are just trying to use their lungs, and that's not going to work. You know, you'll struggle with it.
I think one of the biggest keys to mouth calling is there's 2 fundamentals, and you want to have your highs and your lows. So your and once you have control over those, then you can start to make your calls where you're
exactly.
Yeah, you go high and drop off, and
yep, and that's what I learned by the movement of your mouth up and down.
Yep,
relieves a little pressure with your tongue, and yeah, exactly. So and I did just what you did when I first started practicing, is to get that weird sound without tickling the crap out of my tongue, and then learning how to drop it down and putting the call almost just before your gag reflexes. The further back, the better. And so you can use that roll of your tongue.
It is very important.
Your diaphragm. It is. If you push it too far forward, it's just too high pitched. I mean, I won't lie. I gagged a couple of times on where you get them. It's too far back. You got to take it out of your mouth and leave it out for a bit. You're like, holy jeez, you know. But that's where it works. It's a very weird place to put it. But once that everything gets wet and it's locked in, you've bent it a little bit, you know, with your tongue, and it's all wet. It'll stay right there. You can actually talk right past it if you want to.
Old Mark is gagging on latex.
I've been sitting here going, this is like a highlight reel of things I never thought Mark would ever say. You got to spit on it. You got to get it deep in the mouth.
Yeah, you got to spit on it. You got to watch out for your gag reflexes. I mean, and that's why I stayed away from it. The jokes just won't stop.
Yeah. So Mark, we've kind of gone through all the calls. You have your pot calls, which is this year is the Clear Killer. We have our original box calls, the Little Cluckers. We have the Ridge Runners, and now that we have the Cheating Hen and the what's the other one? Widowmaker. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
So what do you have new and coming up for Nor'easter game calls in the future?
Well, for deer season, we're obviously going to head down that road of the Jurassic series that we spoke of. I'm having some custom built bits made for me, which I'm having a hard time because some of these companies want $400 for one drill bit. So I'm reaching out to some friends to try and get things done so that I can get the right drill for these calls. But it's basically mammoth ivory pieces cast in resin, and that will be, it's a higher end because it's going to have a Damascus band, real Damascus steel band, and again, made out of mammoth ivory with a Cocobolo sound chamber. And again, all these calls are done by just me. They're one at a time. So it takes me some time to get them. That's why I don't do huge runs, because it's just, I have a real job. I'm in the shop every night, as you know, from 7:30 until midnight, every single night, 7 days a week. So we'll do that. We'll do the Jurassic series. And that's probably about where I'll be. I've got a bunch of box elder burl as well that's been dyed and stabilized to do another line, and maybe some Honduran rosewood as well. So it'll be a decent selection of grunt calls this year. They won't all be super high end.
But you have the regular ones. Awesome. And it wouldn't be Outdoor Drive Nor'easter game calls if we didn't give something away. What are we going to do, Mark? Why don't you announce it? What's the next giveaway we got going on?
I think for these, you and I have discussed it before, these new youth hunters that are getting out there. I mean, obviously, some of them are pretty young, and they don't have a lot of money, especially with the way things are right now in the economy. I think we ought to give away, you know, their choice, a pot call or a box call. They can have their choice. I'll do an SW hybrid box call, which is a full-size box call. And if they want a pot call, they can have a Nor'easter pot call. And I'll make one up for them if they want special colors, or they can just let me know what they want. You know, I can come up with one and we can launch it on the website, something that's a kind of a neutral color or a cool color for them, and go that route.
And what are going to be the rules and regulations to this bad boy?
I think it'd be cool to see them and their hunting partner that's with them, be it their mom or their dad or their buddy or their brother or whoever took them out, to see that photo. You know, that those photos in the field really capture the moment where, I mean, there's plenty of times when you can actually see the puddle dies. It's quite an event for them to get out there and harvest their own turkey. So if they can do that, get us a photo to send in to you. And we can post those on your website and on Instagram, Facebook, and so forth. And then just a short paragraph of what made it so special for them, or what's the most memorable part. You know, you can be as short as, I couldn't believe it. It was 30 yards, and I pulled the trigger, and it was over in no time, or it ran off, and I had to fire again. Just a short description of what made it special for them. To as special as I was with my dad. My first hunt. That's just a little statement, and we'll go through them, and we'll just do a draw at the end of the season, and let them choose if they want a box call or a pot call.
Absolutely. I'm all about it. You guys heard it.
We'll definitely throw in a set of mouth calls as well. I'll make sure that we throw in a set of mouth calls with it, just in case they want to start practicing and driving everybody in the family nuts.
I think it's great.
Hey,
you heard
it's
it
like
right
the
from
modern
Mark's
day
mouth.
drum set.
But way better.
Yeah, actually has use.
Yeah, it does. So yeah, I think that'd be cool. You know, like I said, get the photos in. We can start posting them to show that there are some youths out there that are getting into the industry. That we've lost a pile of people because of indoor games and COVID and all of that. That they're people are getting back into it, and I'd love to supply them with their first set of calls so that they can have them for a lifetime. And like I said, we all know my stuff's warranted for a lifetime, so they'll be able to pass it down to their kids. That sounds good, man. Well, Mark, we really appreciate it. But last but not least, man, where can they get these calls at? nor'eastergamecalls.com. Sweet. You heard it. Get them in close. Nor'easter Game Calls. Well, Mark, we're going to get back to the normal show here on the Outdoor Drive, and we appreciate you jumping on and everything that you do for us here. Oh, likewise. I appreciate everything you guys do for me as well, and appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to give me a ring and get everybody caught up on what's going on. Hell yeah, man. Well, I was just going to say, close her out for him? Yeah, I was just going to wish him the best of luck, because we know that Maine birds are in short supply and hard to call. And yeah, right. I can go outside and call one in for you if you want. The way my last few seasons have gone, that may be my best option. You are welcome here anytime, my brother. Anytime. Like I said, it's amazing how many turkeys this state has. It really is. And we don't have the same posted laws as a lot of these other states. And there's plenty of property up here and plenty of birds. Outstanding. Well, we'll have to keep that in mind, guys. And everyone, you know where to go to find him. You know where to go to get your calls and support him, because he's doing a hell of a lot for our show, and we couldn't do it without him. So appreciate you. Thanks for listening, and thanks for taking the ride right here on the Outdoor Drive.